My name is Ed Illig, and I'm from Brainstorm. So a little overview. We offer a complete approach to integrated brand marketing, strategies and deliverables, and we like to say we're rooted in analysis as well as creativity, because I think that goes hand in hand, particularly in this day and age. A little bit about myself. My background, I started out in retail store design. That was many years ago, and worked with clients, Honda, Saturn, Meyer. Actually designed the Meyer logo. Somebody has to shake my hand after that, but it's not this Meyer. It's the one that just changed before that. A lot of different big data warehousing companies like NCR to Roche Diagnostics, hospitals, higher education. So I've been around a little while, and I've worked with a lot of different types of groups. And that said, tonight I'll be covering several different markets that we address in our practice now. I was talking to a couple of folks earlier. Fortunately, I already found somebody from ITT Tech, because we're going to cover a little bit of higher education, and that'll speak to them, and maybe there's some others in here that will relate to the case studies that we used. And I was asked to speak on the importance of a user-friendly website this evening, and I'm going to break it down into those three phrases. Importance, why is it important? User-friendly, what do I mean by that? And website, and how I see that changing. Importance. Let's start with a statistic, a valuable base. 77% or 240 million U.S. citizens are internet users now. And out of 310 million people, if you take away small children and invalids, you're probably talking about almost everybody in the United States on the internet, just as a base for what we're going to talk about here. Tamara mentioned advertising. I've never worked in an advertising agency. I've done work for advertising agencies as a brand design marketing firm. That's the way that's always been, but that's changed over the years as well, advertising agencies. But typically, ad agencies and marketers in the past took a you-them approach, is what I like to call it. You spoke at them and they listened, or else. If you have enough money, you can speak to lots of people. Well, that's changed quite a bit. There was a time when word of mouth was really a small group of friends that could pass along your message or talk poorly about you. Now, obviously, with Facebook and propagation of information, that's all changed drastically. So that really points to you plus them equals us. In this day and age, when we're talking about user-friendly, your users want to connect with you. They want to be able to have a voice. If they've got a problem, they want you to address it. They don't want to be ignored. They don't want to be talked at. And they'll make you pay for it. They can be your judge, your jury, and your best friend. And I'm not going to get too far into social media tonight, but it still is something that is an umbrella over everything we'll be talking about tonight. And us equals value. And when I talk about value as it relates to importance, again, ITT people here, they need to recruit people to their school. Foundations need to advance messages. And people in the commercial realms need to sell products, and so forth and so on. So value is relative to who you're talking to and who you are and what you're trying to get across. So user-friendly really is a broad term, and it starts with us and friend, which is inherent in that term. When I talk about user-friendly, I want you to consider that websites, maybe 1995 on, I remember building sites, I think as early as 94, possibly. Websites, it's become a mature medium. In 2010, holiday sales reached $36 billion, $584 billion of pre-Christmas sales. That to me speaks of importance. When we're saying important, that's a lot of eyeballs, that's a lot of money, and that's just on the commerce side. Forget higher education or institutions, government, and so forth. That's just pointing to how important it's become in our lives. And before we go on, I wanted to just briefly touch on everything I talk about tonight is assuming that you know who your users are. Because if you don't know who your users are, you can't really have that us-them equation that I talked about a little bit ago. Are they forward-thinking? Are they thought leaders? Are they in manufacturing? Or perhaps, as I mentioned earlier, they're in government institutions, higher ed, or foundations? Or are they a combination? Maybe they're a green manufacturer and they need to influence policymakers in Washington. And I could go even farther. Are they women? Are they men? Are they young, old? Do they like blue? You've got to consider who are your users before you begin to try and engage them. That aside, let's jump into what user-friendly is about. And I'm not going to cover everything tonight. I'm just going to hit some highlights. User-friendly is about function, convention, and convenience. When we designed the Anderson University site, we used a lot of very conventional navigation. You'll notice at the top, I have the term top level there. There's a search box up in the right-hand corner. These are things that since 1995 or what have you, over time people have designed things into websites and we've all become accustomed to where's the search box? It's almost always up in the right-hand corner. We don't want to confuse them. If you've got a standard website, you don't want to start getting cute with it and putting things where they don't belong. But we still don't know who these folks are. You generally know about them, but we don't know if they're students, potential students, faculty, a major donor. Are they 80 years old? Are they 18? Are they parents? So what we did in this case is we created testimonies from students and faculty and people that they might relate to, and then what I call a revelation panel, and that's somewhat animated. It flows through some of the different aspects of the university to make sure that we're getting across different things that people might be interested in so they can find themselves in this site. Some current events and news, and always a call to action because fundamentally they need to get qualified students into the university. But if they delve a little further, we start sectioning off the site to different people. In this case, you see the brand is still there. You can tell this is Anderson University, but now we're talking to 18-year-olds. We want to give them a lot of options. Their time is very truncated. Anybody that has a teenager or even tweenager knows that texting and abbreviated verbiage and everything else, we need to get to it quickly with them. I call this a 1, 2, 3 convenience panel. The revelation panel is now turned into something that they can go through and learn a little bit about how they fit in and what do I need to do to get into this university. Below, we give them many options because they tend to be attention deficit disorder types, just because of all the input that they get. Do they want to talk to somebody on a blog, the admissions officer, another admitted student? But once again, let's make sure they can apply online, and redundancy can be your friend in that case. Never drop the call to action. Maybe we'd like them to visit the campus, or they can register for SOAR, which is a family event. And when I talk about brainstorm being analytical as well as creative, we follow all the metrics. We noted that there was a bounce rate on the application form, which is pretty important when you're trying to get people to apply to your college. So we looked at that and thought, okay, we're getting a lot of traffic here. We've driven people to the website through various means, and they're bouncing off of this application. What we found is kids just don't spend much time with things anymore. They're looking at 20 or 30 colleges. And this was really designed around a you mentality. It's all about the admissions officer. It's easy for them. If they fill everything out, then they've got everything they need. That's what we need. But it's not taking into account how 18-year-olds function these days. They need quick, clean, they don't even know if they're going to go to your university. You need to make an initial connection. Later on, you can get all that information. And once we changed this to a shortened application, the hit rates went up and everything went up. People hung around on the site a lot longer. Ian Illig is my son, and Anderson being our client, I came home one day and I said, look, I like this. I don't just say this because they're a client. I like the university. I think you should at least look at them. And Ian said to me, I don't want to go to a university that's smaller than my high school. I said, fair enough, and I let it go. I thought this is his decision in life, and he wants to go to a big Purdue or Butler or somewhere else. I wanted to let him make that decision. Then a few weeks later, I came home and I noticed that Ian was on a community page that we had created for Anderson. And what's important about this is that we created this community page as a place to try and engage high school students before they even made a decision about where they're going to go. We have some relevant patterns that they would be familiar with in their clothing and the way they like design these days. We gave them a banner up there, Class of 2013, so they could identify and see themselves as, I'm going to be at this school graduating in 2013. In this case now, this is kind of a microsite of the original site, but we're really playing to our audience now. This is about the user. This is not about me. Here, convention changes. It's no longer about top-level navigation and search boxes being in the right place. It's about a Facebook style, and he's very familiar with that. He can upload his photos, his videos, he can have a forum, he's got his own page, it's personalized, there's value to him. When I say brand up top, we've hit Anderson's brand. The positioning, we want him to begin to think about embrace your future at AU. And finally, down in the left-hand corner there, meet future classmates and friends on the AU class of 2013. It speaks directly to him, creates the value of this site for him. Well, he began uploading pictures. He was a big tennis player in high school, and he met some friends. One guy was from Spain that's going to be on the tennis team at AU. Next thing I know, he's in here all the time. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't tell him that I had worked on the site, our firm had. And eventually, one day I said, have you thought about where you're going to college? And he said, well, I think I'm going to Anderson. And he totally changed his mind about it. He said, this is like Facebook, only better. Now, he didn't mean it's better than Facebook. He went on to say, it's pertinent and relative to me. It gave me a chance to get into the site. I learned a lot about Anderson. And again, it was user-friendly. And when I speak about user-friendly in this case, this was over a long period of time. We didn't just throw up a website and hope that he comes and says, oh, these are pretty pictures on here. I relate because I'm young, and you put contemporary shapes on, and so I'm going to go to this university. We thought about, worked through, looked at the analytics, and figured out what makes Ian and his contemporaries tick so that we could keep them engaged long enough, knowing once they learn about Anderson, they're going to like it. That was the theory there. So who cares? Well, if you're Anderson University, you need to get qualified students into your university. In a year that was averaging in their sector a negative 3% enrollment, they turned around and had a 12% enrollment after we instituted all these things, the shortened application and a lot of other things. That equaling a 15% net change in enrollment year over year. And I think for them, that speaks to why user-friendly and caring about who's coming to your site is so critical, because it does have a return eventually.